So you could probably use a doula. Here's why. I'm Holly. I'm a Katy, Texas-based birth and postpartum doula, birth boot camp instructor, placenta specialist, birthing rights advocate, and student bereavement doula. I'm passionate about supporting birth givers and owning their own voice and power. Learning about doulas and perhaps hiring one can be part of preparing for your best birth. So let's talk about that for a minute. What does preparing for your best birth look like? Getting clarity on what you really want, careful consideration of your provider, if you choose to have one, and your birthplace. Making a habit of nourishing your mind, body, and soul. Getting informed, perhaps by tapping into your internal wisdom, connecting with your baby, learning through books and classes or a mentor. There are many ways to do this. And of course, what we'll touch on with this video, gathering your birth team and how that can impact your experience. If birth is natural, why might we need additional support? Well, women attending women in birth is also natural in that doulas have been around in one form or another since the dawn of humankind. Interestingly, even some non-human mammal species have been observed laboring with animal birth attendants of their own. Next, natural doesn't necessarily mean easy. Labor is largely unpredictable. You may have an unexpectedly long and tiring labor requiring more support than you originally planned, or a short and intense labor in which you could really use an empathetic and commiserating person to join you in the debriefing and processing afterward. Even at a very textbook kind of labor, care providers and partners and others at the birth are usually multitasking quite a bit, and it's nice for someone to just be there just for you. Most importantly, I believe all birth givers deserve an awesome doula should they want one. I love this quote. Not sure who originally said this, but I find it to be so true. If you don't know your options, you don't have any. Yes, you can just quote unquote give birth, but most people do have quite a bit of unlearning and relearning to do to have the kind of experience they might be planning for, or at least hoping for. In this case, you'll need to know your options, risks, and benefits of all kinds, of the sort of things that come up in pregnancy, birth, and beyond, alternatives and how you can access those. You need to get clearer on your wishes, and a belief in your own power certainly won't hurt. Your birth team is here to support you as you embark on this journey of knowing. Let's take a quick look at your birth team, which may or may not include any or all of the ideas I've listed here. These are just giving you an idea of what building your birth team looks like and how most of us do seek the service and assistance of others in this stage of life. So I wrote your baby first because I think it's so important to remember you and your baby are working together. You're a team, helping each other, and that connection serves as the foundation for everything else. Your medical care provider and partner are obvious members of most people's birth teams. I also listed childbirth educator because the majority of us have not grown up with a cultural knowledge of birth, and we have a lot of work to do in rethinking unhelpful perspectives shaped by the media and so on. For other aspects of healthcare, I listed chiropractor, nutritionist, licensed massage therapist, maybe a prenatal yoga instructor or acupuncturist, things like that. Birth and postpartum doula is what we'll talk about more in this video. Then you've also got nurses or labor assistants, photographer, anyone else invited to the birth, and whoever you are reaching out to for specialized breastfeeding help, maybe an IBCLC or La Leche League leader, or a knowledgeable breastfeeding friend. All of these people will, in one way or another, impact your experience of the 4 trimesters, of which early postpartum is one, of course. So what is a doula? Doula is a Greek word meaning women's servant. While not all birth givers identify as female or women, I feel the origins of the word are still pretty useful. A labor or birth doula is formally or informally trained support person who provides a range of care to those who are pregnant, birthing, and postpartum, and focuses on them with continuous one-on-one attention during labor. Some doulas may choose to refer to themselves as labor companion, labor support specialist, birth professional, birth or labor assistant, birth coach, birth consultant, or birth keeper. Let's go over a few common questions I'm often asked about doulas. First, are they the same thing as a midwife? Do they serve the same role as a partner or relative or nurse? So, nurses spend a great deal of time reviewing monitors, charting, and splitting their time between multiple patients each shift. A doula spends her entire quote-unquote shift essentially near the birth giver and is devoted to being present for a single client at a time. At a hospital birth, an OB is usually seldom seen, if at all, until it's time to deliver, and they leave shortly thereafter. A doula typically stays with you from active labor until everyone is settled in postpartum. Midwives and their birth assistants have various responsibilities at a birth unrelated to comfort care, such as, again, charting, setting up supplies, taking heart tones and other health assessments, and keeping a watchful eye on the baby's response to labor. A doula remains by you so you're never without support when attention is otherwise divided and isn't preoccupied with clinical tasks, making health diagnosis, or catching babies, all of which are responsibilities of your OB or midwife. A doula's role is also different from that of a family member or close friend, even if you were already friends with your doula. First, as a trained birth worker who has solid understanding of physiological birth, doulas are experienced and comfortable in the process of guiding laboring parents. We also serve without personal biases getting in the way of your wishes, and you can be sure unrelated history isn't brought into the birthing day. Though a friend or relative is likely to worry as they watch you in distress or what they perceive as suffering, a doula remains calm and collected and focused on your experience and your story without panicking or imposing. A doula is mindful of the sanctity of the space and the emotional susceptibility of the event in a way most people are inexperienced doing, even with the best intentions. The next question is, do doulas only attend unmedicated births? While some might, most doulas do attend a variety of birth scenarios, including medicated births that were induced or had an epidural, cesareans, births at home or the hospital or a birth center. I won't get into it too much here, but there are definitely many ways a doula can be of great help in these situations. Next question is, who does a doula work for? Well, a doula is really the only person on your birth team who is there just for you. She's your ally in service to you, advocating for you and your birth plan, no matter what. And finally, what does the research say? I personally don't feel like studies need to be done on this matter because we can see just by observing the outcomes that doula support is very beneficial. But for those who are statistics and evidence and researcher kind of people, let's look at some of that. Here are a few of the noted benefits of doula care as shown by the evidence. In studies I'll link at the end of this video, parents who hired a doula to attend their birth were shown to be 10% less likely to receive pain medication, have an epidural, have vacuum or forceps assisted birth, and had a 39% decreased risk of cesarean section, and 38% decreased risk of having a baby with a low APGAR score. They also had lower risk of postpartum depression, 15% increased likelihood of spontaneous vaginal birth, shorter labors by 41 minutes on average, and a 31% decreased risk of feeling dissatisfied with the birth experience. I like this graphic a lot. It's a conceptual model for continuous labor support by evidence-based birth. You can see how all these elements and factors are interacting with each other and how continuous labor support is like an umbrella kind of keeping the rain away so this model can work its magic, so to say. I won't read each thing, but you can pause and look it over yourself if you'd like. Doulas provide educational support. We give custom resources and referrals as needed, saving you tons of time on doing the research grunt work on your own. Some doulas offer fertility planning in addition to birth and postpartum planning. When requested, we give ideas and suggestions for any issues that come up. Some doulas may offer these ideas even if you don't ask first, and that's really just depending on the dynamic you want between yourself and your doula. We educate about prenatal nutrition, movement, pelvic floor health, policies and procedures at your birthplace, tests and interventions that you may encounter that you'll need to make decisions about. We're also chock full of knowledge about alternative options should you need them. So doulas are kind of like walking birth encyclopedias, essentially. In your prenatal meetings, you'll likely go over childbirth basics and newborn care info if you need that too. Really, the sky's the limit as far as how in-depth you want to get in regard to learning, because that's exactly what doulas are trained to expect. Physical support is probably the most well-known aspect of doula care. We help you cope with labor pain with hands-on support, if that's what you like. Could be hip squeezes, counter pressure, massage, and such. We protect the birth environment too, keeping it a safe place well suited to a good oxytocin flow and a nice vibe. We've also got various little tricks for comfort, like maybe hot or cold therapy, aromatherapy, using water, breathing techniques, and things like that. Helping with ideal positioning is a big one too, I think, and addressing your basic needs. So reminding you and your partner to use the bathroom and eat and drink so you can enjoy your labor and not have to worry about keeping track of these things. After birth, we can help get you off to a good start with breastfeeding, and we visit you in postpartum too to help ensure that your recovery is going well. So I think this is probably the most important aspect of doula care, but often an invisible one: emotional support. This can include reassurance, praise, company, acting as a mirror, validation, serving as a witness, which is very important to some birth givers, helping with fear release, and being your advocate. How do doulas help partners? First, let me clarify that doulas do not replace the role of the partner or at all get in the way of the relationship that you have. A great doula helps a partner feel more involved in the birth process, not pushed away from it. A doula's role revolves around the birthing couple's specific wants and needs, so whatever you envision for your partner's involvement, a doula can help make it a reality. As one example, if you prefer physical attention and comforting touch to come from your partner, your doula can suggest comfort techniques. We can handle mundane tasks so your partner can enjoy the birthing time as well. And who will support you when your partner needs a break, which at some point they probably will need to use the bathroom, eat, rest, or just take a breather so they can be at their best for you. On this slide is a portion of a study that shows the outcome of a doula working alongside a partner in birth and how this combination of support significantly decreased her risk of cesarean. Now that you know more about doulas, you might be wondering how to choose one. Obviously, your approach here will be completely up to you. When I picked a doula for my first birth, my main concerns were whether she had availability on my due date and whether her services were within my budget. For my second birth, I hired a doula whose philosophies I knew aligned with my own. I liked her style of delivering information, and I wanted to work with someone who understood how to communicate with introverted people. So you may find a matching philosophy on birth or other areas of life that are important to you. You may be interested in a doula with a certain background of training. I don't believe certification is necessarily a gold standard for what makes a quote-unquote good doula, but I'd say most people do want a doula who has put effort and mindfulness into being the best doula she can for her client base. You may be looking for a doula who has experience or knowledge in bereavement care, maybe support of the LGBTQ families, or is trauma-informed, or knows about certain holistic modalities, or what have you. So then on that note, what services do they offer? Are you looking for a doula who teaches comprehensive birth classes too? Maybe someone who works on a team with other doulas? Maybe you really want a doula who can also add placenta pills to your package, or maybe you need completely virtual support. So there are many other things doulas are passionate about and can offer if you ask. So think about what your needs are, and when interviewing doulas, find out how they can help address your needs and find out what solutions they might have for you. Cost is often a primary factor in who chooses which doula as well, or whether a couple hires one at all. What kind of investment do you want to make in your birth? What do your finances allow? are there various ways to afford a doula if you're a bit strapped? And I have a blog post on that if you wish to read it. To start your doula search, ask your local mom groups online or visit doulamatch.net. Again, doulas are individuals with their own personalities and styles and philosophies and offerings. You'll have to think about what would be important to you and find that doula who is your perfect match. And I really do believe there is a doula for every birth giver. In conclusion, here's a quote by John Kennel. If a doula were a drug, it would be unethical not to use it. Then just some words from a few past clients of mine about their experience with doula care. And those studies that I mentioned earlier. I really hope this was informative for you, and thanks for watching.